Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's live to talk about networking. I'm Ruth Sternberg, and my guest today is Chris Borja. And we want to talk to you a little bit about this topic because this is something that comes up with my career coaching clients a lot. I am a career coach. I'm based in Rochester, New York, although I have clients nationally. Chris, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, Chris Borja in Columbus, Ohio.
Chris is a friend of mine. I used to live in Columbus. So Chris runs a very interesting group. It's called Connect, right?
Yep, Connected Networking Group.
Connected Networking. And Chris's aim is to teach people how to network. So Chris runs events in Columbus and now elsewhere, including Zimbabwe, where people come together and through doing it, they learn how to network. And Chris leads them through a bunch of activities to help them get to know each other and to help them understand the power of connecting in this way. Right, Chris?
Yep.
So Chris and I agreed, and I'm sure that you probably do too, that this is one of the most difficult things for a lot of people. You know, we live in this digital world now, and we're online all the time. We're just looking at our screens. I think that trying to truly connect with another person is an art form that may be sort of lost to a lot of people. I don't know. Maybe I'm assuming too much here. But let me just get to the comments here because I want to make sure I'm looking at those. Hi, Mary. Good to see you. As I was saying, yeah, it's really difficult because, you know, I work with clients who are in job search, and a resume is not enough to get a job. You really do have to network, especially these days. You really do have to know people inside companies and people in the industry to be able to figure out what opportunities are available, just to, keep your contacts going. And many people don't have a network that they've maintained over a number of years, so they're kind of starting from scratch, or they just haven't talked to people in a long time. So they get really nervous. Well, what do I say? How do I reintroduce myself? And then once I'm in the conversation, what am I supposed to do? And now we're back to having live events too. So when you go to a live event, you go into a room and you got your name tag. Well, what am I supposed to do now? And really, what's the purpose of all of this? And I think that's what creates a lot of confusion. And I'm just going to start by saying that I hate the word networking, because I think that once you use a term like that, you are creating a concept or communicating an idea that seems to be separate from everyday reality. It's a thing with a capital N. And you're suddenly thinking, I don't know what this thing is. It's a thing I have to learn how to do. It's like a technical skill. I don't know. When in reality, networking is something that we all do every single day. Like, I just moved to Rochester in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. There is no way that we would have been able to figure out where to live or where to shop or anything in our new environment unless we ask people, right? That's networking. So, you do a lot of things in your everyday life that have to do with connecting with other people. And you make friends and connections, and over time, people will give you tips on things, right? Because they happen to know you. So they'll say, oh, I was thinking about you the other day. Did you know about X? Or you'll say, I want to go to this thing. Have you ever heard about that? Oh, yeah, we went last week. This is the normal sort of interaction that happens all the time. And it's the same thing in the professional world. So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you find to be the biggest obstacles for people when it comes to networking?
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle is really that most of us have never learned how to network. If you think about it, most of us never took a class in all of our schooling. We never took a class on networking, took all kinds of other classes, but never one on networking. And in the workforce, we oftentimes don't get any networking training at our jobs. And even for those in the sales world, they're told to network, but really aren't taught how to network. They're usually told how to prospect or taught how to prospect, which is a whole different thing than networking. And I think that's where, like you talked about, there's a lot of people that feel that way about the word networking, and that preconceived idea of what networking is. They might picture people in suits exchanging business cards, or just a stuffy type meeting, but it really isn't. It's like what you talked about, moving to Rochester, and you're like, hey, I've got people that I can connect with and share what's good. So to start off with, the way I define networking is simply building relationships so we can share resources and create a win-win situation together. So I'll say it again. So networking is all about building relationships so we can share resources and create a win-win situation together. So you think about it, just the fact that we have a new definition for networking automatically, for most people, will take away some of the weirdness or the strangeness of what exactly are we doing? How do we do this? That's all we're doing, just building relationships. We can share resources and create a win-win situation together. So if you're just looking for something, it doesn't have to be a sale. It doesn't have to be anything you're selling, but now we're coming together as a community to share those resources. And as we do this, we're creating a more fertile ground for more things to happen organically, because the reality is that we all have resources. We might not be utilizing all our resources, but we all have them. And there's nobody that has all the resources. Even somebody who has an abundance does not have all of them. So everyone we talk to has a need. So having just a little bit of awareness and some mindset of what networking is, hopefully help alleviate some of the pressure around what about networking.
Well, right. I think what happens is, especially in the realm of looking for a job, is that we tend to have this transactional mindset about networking, right? People will say to me, but you want me to reach out to people in my companies of interest? Like, I think they're thinking that what they're going to do is say, what jobs are available in your company? Or can you help me get this job? That's more of a transactional thing. And that's really not what we're talking about here. Because first of all, that's kind of uncomfortable. I mean, you don't, for instance, and this is a metaphor that's used a lot, you don't date someone and then on the first or second date propose marriage, right? You have to form relationships with people and then have some kind of exchange of value along the way. And it's generally a good idea not to start out thinking in the back of your mind, well, there's a reason I need to connect with this person because I got to get to a point where I can ask them about this job. Yes, you're nervous about looking for a job, right? You are, of course, thinking that's an end point. But really, networking is about having relationships so that you're sharing information with each other. And then someone might tell you some information about their company or about a job they heard about. This is why it's so difficult, because you have to maintain these relationships over a period of time in order to, get some value or to give some value to another person. So I wanted to ask Chris, when people come together at your events, they're strangers, right? The first time they meet each other and walk in the room, what do you tell them to do?
Yeah, well, I let them know, for one, what they're there for, that we're all here to meet each other. And that helps. And to let everyone know that not everyone knows each other. There's a lot of new people. So it's not good old boys club where, people feel like left out. I want to make sure people feel comfortable. And most of the time we go into a room and we feel like we don't belong. I don't know if anyone's experienced that. We feel like you just don't belong, or like everyone's got it all together. Everyone already has their friends. They don't need me. And like I said earlier, everyone has a need, or they wouldn't be there. Think about that. Why would they even show up to a networking event if they had no needs? Nobody shows up to a networking event if they don't have any needs. Everyone,
right.
They need, so they're all showing up. So have that mindset. Try to help people understand that everyone here has resources. We're here to share resources. And then just create an environment. So we do activities where we help people connect with each other. We'll break people up after the arrival and all that kind of stuff, and the welcome and giving them an overview of what's happening. That helps people be relaxed. But then breaking people up into pairs and creating new friendships and new opportunities, and creating prompts to where they get to know one another And don't just talk about business or their needs, because that can get boring really fast and make you want to get out of the conversation. But oftentimes, if you get people to start talking about themselves and what they care about, you'll see a whole shift in their eyes and their body language and everything. And all of a sudden, you have a new friend. It's not somebody that you're intimidated by their role or their title or position or whatever that is that's maybe intimidating, their social status or something like that. But now they're just a person. They're just your friend. And as we teach other people to do that, more things can happen. Because if we all show up to the event to prospect and pitch, then it's not, nothing's going to happen. We're not going to.
Well, right. So within this advice that Chris is giving is something that you can use when you're networking to find a job or to find out about opportunities. And that is you start the conversation by asking the person something about themselves, right? And when you're at a networking event, there are plenty of things you can ask about, because you can say, hey, man, I had a hard time finding parking. Where did you park? You can have an icebreaker like that, right? You can say, God, it's really warm today for the fall. This weather's nuts. Something that just like starts the conversation, right? Or you can see you can ask the person, sometimes if you go to an event, their company or what they do is on their name tag. You can ask them about that. You can say, oh my gosh, whatever field you've been in, you're doing that. You're a cheese straightener. I'm just curious. What is that? There are a lot of different things you can ask people about. You can even ask them about the football game that was on, just a few days before that. Where I live, it's all about the Buffalo Bills. So there's a lot of ways to get into a conversation with someone. But, the question I also get is, well, what about if it's online? What about if it's on LinkedIn? I coach people to look for people who work in the companies of interest, to make inside contacts and try to just get to know these companies better, and to maybe ultimately find out about opportunities and connect with hiring managers, things like that. But like just reaching out to someone that doesn't know you can be very awkward. Do you have any advice for how to do that, Chris?
Yeah, so for online engagement, if you think about it, so just like at the live events, we understand now mindset wise that everyone has a need, and that changes things because they wouldn't be there if they didn't have any needs. So it's a matter of talking to this person, getting to know them so they can share what their needs are, and then we become connectors for one another. So instead of, hey, I'm looking for a job, hey, I'm looking to hire, but we never get to that point, there's a need. So any of usually people that are jobs in a job search also understand, maybe they've been in a management position, or even if they haven't, they understand what it's like to run short in a company and how desperate situations can become trying to find someone qualified to fill that role. And so just understanding the dynamics behind the scenes and just taking a step back, stop thinking about what you need. So job seekers might think about, I got bills coming up, I'm running out of savings, or what, all these pressures. And that's what they're thinking when they're meeting somebody. And same as this desperate salesperson that's like, I got to meet my quota, or I got to make my bills, or I got to hit this number or whatever. So that when we're thinking about ourselves, it does affect the way we come across. And it also affects the connection, because we're just like trying to get the one thing that we need and forgetting that the other person has a need as well. So whether it's in person, just understanding that everyone has a need and starting conversation to where you get to build relationship, share resources. What is it they need? And then at some point they're going to say, well, what do you need? And even if they don't ask what we do or what we need, then building that relationship, we can tell them, hey, Ruth, is it okay if I share what I'm looking for right now, in case you run across somebody that is hiring for somebody in my role? See, even if you completely forgot to ask me about what my needs were, but I spent time asking about yours, then when it comes time to, I actually kind of earned it a little bit, of being able to ask for something. So because I've already perhaps said, oh, Ruth, I can introduce you to this person. I can introduce this person. You're like, oh, that'll be great. Or I can connect you with this organization or this group I think will really be helpful for you. So it's about adding value to people. So that's in person. Online, to me, is not a lot different, because it's a different medium. But to me, it's still people. like ultimately it's still a person behind that profile. And if we look at it like that, again, it shifts the way we act. It's like if you're in the car, you can have road rage. It's harder to have road rage if you're face to face on a sidewalk. You don't
Well,
have
that's
sidewalk
true.
rage, right? You don't like start lashing at people on the sidewalk because they cut you off. But in the car you can, because there's some distance, and that's what social media does in a way. But it's still a person you're dealing with. It's still a person. So when you think of it just humans behind the profile, it's like, how do we, okay, so what are the people online, what are they looking for? So we know the people that attended in person, we know they have a need or they wouldn't be there. Well, why are people on social? Well, same thing. They also have a need or they wouldn't be there. Nobody's going to be on social unless they
But
want something.
you've got this person whose profile that you're seeing, right?
Mhm.
You see that they work at this company, and you're thinking, I'd like to get to know some people who work in there. Yeah, I want some inside connections, but I don't know this person.
Mhm.
What would you write for your first message to this person?
Yeah, and
Your
so yeah, that's a great question. That's where, people joke and talk about sliding into the DMs, right? So whether they're trying to date somebody or they're looking for business or make a sale or get a
Yeah.
job is kind of weird and awkward. Just like slide in the DMs. Hey, I'm so and so. There's like no warm up, no even opportunity to bump into each other. So with social media, here's the thing: it's like just like everyone that shows up at an event has a need. Everyone on social media has a need, or they wouldn't post, even if it's just attention, even if it's for validation, even if it's just for vanity, whatever it might be. But everyone has a reason why they're on there. But guess what? There's nobody that posts on social media. Nobody posts on social media with the hopes that nobody sees their stuff. It's the opposite. Everyone posts because they're hoping people will see their content. They'll see their information. They'll see their question. They'll see whatever they're sharing, their pictures of whatever's happening.
So
So
you're talking about when somebody's actually posting on LinkedIn.
yeah, so when somebody posts, that's the first place to start. That's the first place to start. Because how else do you get on the radar? Like, how do you meet somebody if you don't have a chance to even bump into them?
So, a lot of people take the cold call approach on LinkedIn. I see Chris's profile. I'm going to go ahead and send him a connection request with a note. What's your feeling about that?
You could do it, but just understand how you react when that happens to you.
So this is good. A better way to approach this would be to find what that person has posted online and interact with it. Yes?
Yes, and engage with them where they want the engagement. They don't want you knocking on their front door. Nobody wants somebody knocking on their front door at their house. So why would you go to the direct messages right away? Why not engage with them in public where they're out and about? And then later it's a lot more welcome because they at least know who you are. You're already on their radar. They've seen your name. They appreciate the engagement. You showed up on their notifications. They see, and on LinkedIn is even better because not only do they see your name, but they see your headline. So if you're selective about your headline and intentional about your headline, they see that. They have a little intro. If they want some background on you, they can look it up. You have an about section. There's no other social media platform where you have the ability to put this much professional information about yourself and how you add value and put social proof, and people can see who you're engaging with and who you're connected with, and the post that you're putting to see if you're somebody they want to connect with. They can do all that before they even meet you. So just the starting point online is to start a conversation on their posts. It could be a like, a comment, a heart. It could be any of those things to start, and then do it sincerely and do it authentically. Share it if it makes sense. I mean, think about this. When was the last time somebody shared your post? Most of the time, nobody shares your post when you put it out there. If somebody liked it, commented, and then shared it, don't you already know who they are? Like, you don't know the person, but their name
Yeah.
pops up and it's positive. It's positive. If they do that repeatedly, whether it's over a few days or a few weeks, so it's important to plan ahead. Don't just do it and say, hey, I engaged and I sent them a direct message. That's not the same thing. But if you engage over any period of time, I'm not saying it has to be a set amount, but just until you feel like there's some rapport. Because if I post on yours or shared yours, you'd say, Chris, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it so much. I say, yeah, that's great content. And then now I could, like, literally, I could send you a direct message now that just says, hey, Ruth, I went back and looked at your content. You put out some good stuff. I look forward to knowing you better. Let me know if you're open to a quick call and see how we can collaborate and network and see
Yeah,
how we
that's
can
great.
resources.
And there are a lot of different ways to leverage networking from different situations, right? And I was just thinking that Sure, you can go to an event that is labeled a networking event, and you can walk up to someone and you can start a conversation with some kind of icebreaker, as we were just discussing before. Um, but you also can attend a workshop, even a digital workshop. Perhaps there's something you're interested in learning about, and if it's a situation where it's a Zoom and you can see all the other participants and you can see what people are commenting on, you can reach out to people who are actually on the call and say hello. And you can make a note of who you saw or do a screenshot of the people who are on there, save the chat, do something to collect the names. And then you can go onto LinkedIn and say, hey, Deb, I saw you on this workshop. And I just wanted to let you know, I really appreciated your comments, and start a little conversation and then say, I'd love to connect. Could we connect? So that's another thing that you can do, is use events that you attend. Now, a lot of these webinars don't have all of the participants listed, but you could connect with the speaker at the event. You could connect with that person and say, I really liked your presentation, and they'll probably connect with you. You can then ask them more questions about the topic. And as time goes by, you're asking them, is there anybody you think I should know in your industry or in some other industry they're familiar with? This is how you advance these conversations in order to find things out. But you also can ask them if they need help with anything. Is there anything you're wondering about that I could help you with? And you don't want the whole thing to be one-sided, right, Chris?
Yep. Yeah, and sometimes the fear that people have is that they don't have anything to contribute or to offer, especially somebody who's seeking a job and they feel like they're in the lowest position to be able to add anything of value. And even if you have, let's just say we have a room full of a dozen job seekers, the traditional model for job seekers, they're all on their own, every person for themselves, and they all got to fend for themselves, and they got to do their own prospecting and outreach. And at a certain point, they feel like they've exhausted every possible lead, and they're watching by the hour for a new listing to pop up, or starting to expand outside their market. You're like, hey, maybe I need to go outside my town. I might need to move. The reality is that those 12 people are all doing the same thing, but they all have resources for one another. They might be before they even get hired, they're running into potentially hundreds, several dozen, if not hundreds of people that they're running across that they're not a good fit for, one direction or the other. But one of those contacts could be good for one of the other dozen job seekers. And that's the way we would improve our culture, our society, as we work together. And again, going back to the definition of networking is simply building relationships so we can share resources and create a win-win situation. So for example, in the 12 job seeker example, right, there's 12 people looking for a job. If you have 12 people that are all working together, and I have 12 people in my group and they're just all doing the same thing and they're just all searching, you helping your group work together and share resources and bring it and say, hey, who did you meet this week? Oh, I met this person at this organization. They're looking for IT, or they're looking for HR, or they're looking for this, or they're looking for sales. And so why not have the 12 people work with each other to share those leads and then start making introductions? Because guess what? Everyone has a need, right? Everyone has a need. So a company or organization that's hiring has a desperate need, and it's costing them money every day that they don't have that role filled. And even once they fill it, then they got to train them, and they got to make sure there's a fit, and make sure that, and then there's a little ramp up time before they're actually producing and being, positive contributions to the organization. And they may not quit, and then they might have to start over again. And that's where understanding that there's needs on both sides, that just, don't look at it just they're hiring you because you need a job and you got to pay bills. For any job seekers out there, they're hiring you because you're solving a problem for them, the same way they would buy from a salesperson because they're solving a problem for them. And so a lot of that is mindset, of having the right mindset about what networking is, having clarity over what you do and what you have to offer. So start with the small talk, start with, because that's normal, that's natural. Talk about the weather, talk about sports, but just don't stay there, because you still need to be intentional and say, so what are you looking for? What brings you here? Why are you, what can we help connect you with? And even if you don't have all the answers, you don't need to, because as a networker, you're a connector. It doesn't mean you're a know-it-all. You're not the old-fashioned encyclopedia or nowadays the chat GPT where you know everything. You're just a connector. You're simply a connector. So you don't need to know everything or everybody. You just need to know what they're looking for. And now you become a connector. You're not going to be able to connect 100% of people you run across. But even think about it, even just offering, like if you're a job seeker and somebody says, I'm going to keep an eye out for you. Doesn't that mean a lot more than somebody who just absolutely shows no care that you're looking for a job? Just the fact that say, I'm going to keep an eye out for you. They may not have a connection for you, but you appreciate it. And the more people that are actually looking out for you, which will happen as you build relationships, because they actually keep you top of mind, then you're going to start getting some results. So number one, have the right mindset, have clarity over the fact that you do have value to offer, and then get all your processes and systems in place. For example, if you're not, for a job seeker, I'm talking to job seekers out there, if you're not using LinkedIn or not using it effectively, start today. Start with your profile. When people look at your profile, what do they see? Because you're looking at other people's profile. Don't you think they're going to look at yours? Don't think it's a one-way street where you just look at they're going to look at yours. And what are they going to see? Are they going to see something that says, I need to bring this person on the team. We need to have a conversation with this person. And build your actual network up. Have a good contact management. Keep track of who you run into, not just if they're going to hire you or not, because then that's the old-fashioned prospecting. You're sifting and you're sorting, you're disqualifying people, which is what other people are doing to you. And you can see how that works out. We're not really networking in that situation. But if you keep track of who you talk to, and you could now go back and search for people that have these keywords to connect other people to every single person you meet. It's not a yes or a no, a rejection or a hire. It's more about everyone you meet is now added to your community, is added to your ecosystem. And every single person you meet, even as a job seeker, is now adding value to you, because you have more value because you know more people. And more importantly, more people know you. And as you start making more connections, you're adding more value to more people. So if you do this, and not just looking for a job, if you do this as a way of life, what happens is that you'll never become unemployed again. Whenever something changes, layoff, anything that unexpected, moving in different towns, you just become a free agent. Somebody else will want your services because they know you. They're like, hey, if you're ever available, our company's always looking for good people. Because most companies, there's some things that's very specific. You have very specific skills that you need to be qualified for. But even those, oftentimes there's some training involved to learn how that company likes to do it, even if you've been in the industry for a while. But also what they're looking for is personality. Do you look like the kind of person that would fit in their organization? Do you look like somebody they would want to hang out with for 8 hours in the office? Do you look like somebody that they can trust to work remotely online? And all of this can be shown through how you come across on your social media. So if you do all that, now you just got to meet people. So Ruth talked about meeting in person. You can meet people online. We talked about just a brief intro of how to start it. And then from there, you always want to continue. So I see people meet others at, whether it's, online or in person, but they don't take it to the next step. They don't have that one-to-one conversation if possible. It's not always possible depending on who you're trying to meet, but at least have that one-to-one conversation starting with text and then staying in touch on social. Because guess what? Even if you don't talk to them and you're connected on social, they see your stuff. They see your feed. And so if you're putting good content out there, you're staying top of mind, which is important. And then the next step is building relationships. So when you talk about building relationships, there's actually stages and strengths to relationship. And the strength of your relationship determines the size of your ask, like how much of an ask you can make is determined by the strength of your relationship. So the scale I use, a 10, of course, a 1 is somebody that you probably barely know. A 0 is somebody you haven't met yet. A 10 is somebody that you probably helped and served so much, or you've been there so much in life that if you're moving, they're helping you move. And you already know they're helping you move. You almost don't even need to ask them because you've done so much stuff for them. They're the kind of people that can come to your house and look in your refrigerator and see what you have to drink or to eat. I mean, that's a 10. Okay, that's a relationship strength 10. And we very rarely
have friends like that.
Right? So that's a 10. There's not many of them, but we all have a few 10s in our lives that can do that. So I use that as a scale just so that we understand what a 10 is. And then most fall somewhere in the middle. Most of our business contacts, we meet them, they're around a 3, a 5, maybe a 7. But understand that's a scale just so that we could say, okay, I think my relationship with Ruth is fill in the blank. how can I get it 2 notches above that? What can I do to help serve
Mm.
from a 5 to a 7, or a 5 to a 6, or a 7 to an 8? What can I do on a repeated basis? So that's the things.
What would be an example of that? Like,
Yep. So for example, one might be just reaching out, just to see how they're doing and what they're looking for. What are they working for at this stage? Did they start a new nonprofit? Are they supporting a nonprofit? Are they doing a fundraising? Even if it's like a super successful person, they might not have any business needs at that moment, but maybe they have a new nonprofit. Maybe they launched a book. Maybe they launched a course. Maybe they're helping a certain organization and need volunteers. You find out what that is. You got to do a little bit of research, follow, and see what, and things like it. There's clues. There's clues by looking at their social. They'll let you know what's important to them when you look at their social media feed. And what are they sharing? Are they sharing that they're looking for jobs or employees? If they do, why not share it for them? Then you show up on the radar. Yeah, it's not the job you're looking for, but like I said, the dozen people that are also looking, why not help and support and serve them? So these are ways to build relationships that people oftentimes overlook. And then the reason we do that, because you do that on a repeated basis, and you can see this is not something that you do for 1 or 2 weeks. This is something that when you have the right mindset, it just becomes a way of life. It just becomes something that you're comfortable and love doing, because you're just basically making more friends everywhere you go. It just happens to also produce business results for you. So you do that, you're actually doing something so much bigger that you don't realize. You're not just looking for a job anymore, or for those in the sales world, you're not just looking for a sale. You're now building a brand. You're building a brand of serving, of being there for others, of caring, of adding value to others. So you're building a brand as you build your own personal community. As you do that, the final step is to create collaborations and partnerships, to now where you can ask people for something because you've built a reputation. So with collaborations and partnerships for a job seeker, what that might look like is having served so much. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to take months or years. It could be hours. Like literally, everyone has probably built friendships in almost instantly. Like you felt like you're lifelong friends and just found each other. And so networking, there's a myth that it takes a long time for it to work. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't take very long. At our events, we get people to connect in just about 10 minutes with an activity going back and forth. And they feel like best friends. They feel like they're connected. They're hugging each other. They're like, with each other on the spot. I mean, they're like that connected because we're just creating an environment to where they can get to know each other. And so when we get to that final step of collaborations and partnerships, to get into those circles, it's helpful to have your own circle. So for example, if somebody asks to borrow your car and they don't own a car, or their car is a beater, they got food wrappers for like the last 2 weeks, you're probably not going to want to let them borrow your car, because that's what the proof shows, is that they probably don't take care of their stuff, or they don't even have one because it's broken down. So you don't want to let them borrow your stuff. They're going to mess it up. So guess
right.
what? When it comes to networking, it's similar, is that if you don't have social proof that they should let you into their network with the people that they've spent their life building trust and credibility with, then what happens is that you're missing out. You're missing out on that. Now, the flip side, let's say that the car analogy again, your friend that asks to borrow your car, their car is like 10 times nicer than yours. It's just in the shop, which is not probably an unusual outcome, right? You know, the fancier car, sometimes that's in the shop more. But so their fancy car is really nice, always clean before they even leave the garage. They need to borrow your car for the weekend. It's available. See how just because they have a really nice car, you just feel like you could trust them a little bit more. They can handle this kind of car. Yeah, they can definitely take care of mine. So now let's transfer that over to the networking side. So on networking, if they can see that you have a network, you have built trust, they are more likely to let you into their circles, to at least have a conversation. Maybe they're not even hiring you or the role that you're looking for, but they figure that you might know somebody and you're willing to offer that as well. Like, hey, I'm not sure if you have a role for me. I'm looking, but I also have a network of other job seekers and people that are really high quality people that I think would be an asset to any organization. I'd love to meet and just see what your needs are. And if I can make some connections for you, I would love to do that. So see, again, it just changes everything. So having the right mindset, everything, having clarity, having all the tools in place, getting out and meeting people, building the relationships, creating the personal brand, and then now collaborating with others. And guess what? Now that's where you become never become unemployed ever again. You become a free agent, and you just go
No,
to
it's great. And Mary just commented that people need to get rid of the box they put networking in, which is kind of where I started this conversation, saying that people think networking is like a thing that's separate from natural behavior, and it's not. It is the natural behavior. The thing that I notice a lot, though, is that there are people who are relatively isolated. They go to work and they come home. Maybe they're with their family in the evenings, or maybe they play video games to relax in the evening. Someone in my life does that. That's great. You got to relax. But I really believe that in order to build, to really put yourself out there and be known and be able to have these sorts of fruitful professional relationships, you can't stay home all the time, or at least not reach out in some way, even digitally. I really believe that the way you build your career is to be among the people. And I realize that this is something that is difficult for some people. They may have social anxiety. They may be very shy, or as we say, introverted. Now, I'm the opposite of that. I am a person who naturally socially connects, and it's very comfortable for me. But my husband isn't. And I know a lot of people who aren't. I have clients who aren't. And I'm asking this because Chris, I know that you're an introvert, as you said. And tell me about that journey and how you were able to work with that, to be able to connect with people.
So to expand on that, yeah, very, very quiet, shy, timid, fearful introvert for most of my life. Like, it literally wasn't until I was 37 years old. I'm 52 now. It wasn't until I was 37 before I made the decision to stop playing small, to stop hiding, to stop avoiding these things that I know would advance my career. And so all the way from childhood, where I wouldn't raise my hand because I was worried about people judging me, or what if I got it wrong, and what if people think I'm stupid or they laugh at me. And there's many adults that feel the same way. They don't speak up at their company meetings. They don't speak up at the boardroom table. They don't speak up at their events. They don't speak up because they're worried about these things. And that was me. And when I was 37, I said, okay, I can't keep doing this. It's not working. And it wasn't an instant shift. I'll tell everyone right now, it's not an instant, hey, I made up my mind. But making your decision can happen instantly. The other things take a little bit of time. So the one thing that everyone can do right now is make a decision. And not everyone has to network, but be ready for the effects of that. So nobody has to go to the gym. You should. You don't have to. Nobody got
guilty.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? But here's the thing, is that we don't have to go to the gym. It's a choice. But if we choose not to, why fool ourselves and guilt ourselves over saying we're going to go and not go? Why not just say, I'm not working out all month. I'm already saying right now, I'm not going to even try. And at least we have some freedom. And we deal with the results, right? We deal with the outcome, but why fool ourselves? And I think it's the same thing with networking, because networking, there's so many times that even I won't want to go. To this day, there's going to be events I don't want to go, but I know enough to where I know I'm never going to regret going to the event. Just like if you get your butt to the gym, I bet you've never said, see, I knew today was the day I shouldn't have come in. No one will ever say they shouldn't have come to the gym when they did, right? Because you always feel uplifted. You did the right thing. It makes you feel good. So the hard part is just getting your butt there. And once you do there, do the work. And so with networking, I think it's very similar in that way, is that it's just something we do. So my transition into being a networker was just going to the gym, not knowing how to use the equipment, so to speak, not knowing what to do, feeling lost, seeing everyone else was way more muscular and in shape than I was, feeling out of place. That's what it's like going to the event. Like I didn't belong. Everyone looked so proper and confident and calm and enjoying themselves. And I felt like the opposite. But the more I went, the more I became comfortable. And as soon as I became comfortable enough, I started helping other people that were lost like I was. So for those of you that are naturally social butterflies or extroverts, utilize that to your advantage. Understand that not everyone is as comfortable as you, and help them. And you'll make an instant friend just by making them feel welcome when they felt lost and insecure. So they become your instant friend. And for those of you that are more introvert and shy like I was, understand that you're not the only one. There's many of us that go into the event and feel like that. But if I said, okay, half the room is introvert, half the room is extrovert, pick. I bet you can't guess which ones are introverts or extroverts just by looking at them. There's people that look at you like you got it all together, and inside you're falling apart and don't know have a clue what you're doing. And there's people that you also look at and think they got it all together, and they might have a bunch of needs or a bunch of things that need work on. So that's where, as people, as we just look at they're just people that also have needs, also have goals like we do, also have passions and desires and dreams that they're looking to fulfill. All these things that people have, but we lose sight of that because we're so focused on what we need. So for me, the switch was going from attending the events for my needs to be able to sell my products to people, to understanding everyone's here for a reason. Let me find out what that is. And over time, I just started becoming more of a connector. And as I did this, I also realized I didn't get any rejection. I hate rejection. I didn't have to get any more rejection because I was building a relationship to where people knew what I was doing and knew what my product was. And I started getting more referrals. So for the job seeker, think about that. There should be people saying, you should hire my friend so-and-so. You should at least interview them. I'm not sure it's a good fit, but let me connect you because I think they would be awesome. They would be, whoever brings this person on would have a true asset, and have more people like that. The dating situation you talked about earlier. The hardest way to get a date is to find them yourself. The easiest way to get a date is for a friend that knows who you are, what you like, who would be a good fit, and having a bunch of friends in different directions, all knowing different people that you would never run across, saying, oh, you should meet so-and-so, you should meet so-and-so. So the easier way, if you're looking for your soulmate, is to have friends that know you well introduce you to people they think would be a good fit. So why wouldn't that also work with a job? Instead of just finding the exact thing, finding the person that makes the decision and they're looking right on the spot at that exact point, and they got the budget for you, and they have the need, and the position is available when you're available, and not 3 months down the road or other way. So think about it. The best way to get it is just to have people know who you are, what you're looking for, vouch for you, say, and start making these connections. But the way that you create that is by starting that process. And that's what I started doing without realizing what I was doing. And I just started doing that. I just started connecting other people. And that's where the transformation happened. And so then after that, started a group to make it more comfortable for people to network, then realized it's not just about bringing people together. People never learn this. I need to teach them. So we started teaching. And so now we have a toolkit for people to stay in touch with each other. So we have the community through the Connected Networking Group. We've got the training through the Networking Breakthrough Academy, the book, the Networking IQ Assessment. And we also have the toolkit to help people with the tools to stay in touch with each other, to stay organized, and treat people as people, like you said, keeping track of who's who, and understanding who's already in their network. So with networking, with everyone right now, wherever they stand right now, everyone already has some connections. And chances are, when you instruct them to network to get a job, their first inclination is to go into the cold market, go meet people that they don't know. And that's the slowest route because there's no relationship. Why not start with a few dozen people that they already know, like, and trust, and vice versa, to where they can at least reconnect with them and share where they're at and start there. They might not produce somebody right away. Like if you're dating and looking to, marry somebody or have kids with somebody, so you just have to start by letting people know that I'm in the market, right? You don't just expect them to produce somebody right away. So that's the thing, is like with networking is the same thing. Just get the word out there with the people you know. So a few dozen people would be a great start.
I always have people. It sounds crazy when I suggest it, but I ask people to write down, just take out a piece of paper and write down everybody you know, who you used to work with, who your friends are, just start writing them down, and then go through and think to yourself, who could I get back in touch with and find out what they're up to, and just get it moving, right? Just get it moving. But I wanted to stop and circle back because I didn't mention your book, and I feel like I should mention your book. So Chris has a great resource book, and actually you can get to it right here. Networking Essentials for Success. Tell them a little bit about what you're doing. There it is. I have that book. Yeah. And it has a toolkit that comes with it. So what do you do in this book? Let's give people an idea of what they're going to find when they open the book.
Yep. So what they'll find is the 7 steps to networking success. So if somebody's looking for a job, they're looking to grow their business, most problems are solved through another person. Whatever the gap is between us and our goals can be fixed and solved with another person a lot faster than any other method. So for somebody in the job search, they can learn these strategies. And actually, I shared all 7 strategies with you right now. Most people won't realize it, but I shared
Yes.
it.
Well, let's try to list them so that we can do
Yeah.
sort of a little
So,
recap
so
here.
so most people don't have any way to even know if how they're doing on networking. Which if there's no process, there's no way to fix it other than saying, keep doing more of it. Don't give up. Keep coming back. Try it again. Don't, all that kind of stuff. But imagine we're in basketball season now. Imagine a coach telling their team that, the team is losing, they're falling behind. They come to the sideline on the timeout, and the coach says, you guys got to start making your shots. Come on, you got to start making your shots. We got to get the lead. They already know that. So they need to
Right.
know what play they can run. And this book is the play. This book is the how to. So if it's not, if what you're doing is not working, we can go back and say, okay, this is where the breakdown is, and here's how we fix it. So here's the steps. If you're taking down notes, you can write these down. Step number 1 is clarity. You'll hear I shared these already, so you're going to hear them again. So step 1 is clarity, just being clear. What are you looking for? What's the value you offer? What are the problems that the person that's going to hire you in this case is going through? Being clear on that. Who are people that can connect you to that person? Not just who that person is, that's a good starting point, but you might not reach them. So who are people that can potentially connect you to that person is also somebody you want to look to connect with. So oftentimes job seekers, they're looking to connect with a decision maker, and decision makers going to send them to the online application process, because that's why they created it. They don't want to spend a lot of time talking to people. They got a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
Somebody comes to them and says, hey, you really got to meet my friend Chris because he's good at this and this and this, and I think you should at least meet. You can see how that's going to be a better way to get it. So you don't need to just meet the decision maker. It could be somebody that works at that company, like we've talked about earlier, just somebody in that company or even in the industry. It could be a competitor. It could be what do you call it?
Vendor.
Yeah, like a vendor that has relationships with the people that are in that company that you want. So there's so many different things. So that's clarity. Second is the mindset about what networking is. You're not just selling yourself and trying to get a job. That's the transactional side of it that Ruth talked about earlier. What you're actually doing is building relationships so you can share resources and create a win-win situation together. Remember that everyone has a need. They all have a need. Everyone has resources, but no one has all the resources. So understanding mindset. So there's a whole chapter or a series of chapters in that mindset section to learn some practical examples that help create a lot of relief of anxiety by just understanding what it is. Like, oh, okay, I could do this. This is so much easier. I get it now. So I look at like playing poker, but instead of playing against each other, we're sharing cards so we can exchange and improve our hands. So instead of like saying, hey, there's only one winner, so I got to hide what I got and protect, like, why don't we just see what we have and let's try to help each other improve our hands? Yeah, one person will have the highest hand, just like at the job, somebody will get the most pay. Who cares? As long as everyone got a raise, right? So as long as everyone got more money, let's do it. So that's the thing, is like, how do we just help everyone by exchanging cards, exchanging resources? So that's mindset.
Okay.
That's step 2. So clarity, step 1. Step 2 is mindset. Step 3 is your systems and tools. That's getting all your stuff. So that's meaning having your elevator speech. That means having your LinkedIn set up. And not just LinkedIn, all of your social profiles, primarily LinkedIn for job seekers. But I'm going to tell you right now, make sure all your profiles are up to par for outside viewers, because they will spy on you. If they're getting to the serious part, they're going to look at your Instagram. They're going to look at your TikTok. They're going to see what you're about. If you're going to be a risk to their HR, when they get to HR and stuff like that, or, they're going to look at you. Are you somebody that looks like they're hiring the person as much as the skills, so sometimes more so. So having that in place, having your CRM, your contact management. Don't just network to get the job, unless you want to do this again in a year, 2 years, 5 years, unexpectedly, when, everything was smooth and you got your final career landing spot, and then all of a sudden something changes. That's the only constant, is change. That's the only thing we can count on, is that things can
True.
change.
Very true.
So network, build your database, keep good notes of who's who, so you can stay in touch with them. Send a random message. Hey, Ruth thought of you today. Let's, let me know if anything's exciting happening or anything I can help
you with. Happy birthday. What are you guys doing for your birthday?
Yeah, and LinkedIn helps you with that. LinkedIn tells you it's their birthday. They tell you that's already 2 times a year that you can reach out to somebody, and LinkedIn helps you with that because it tells you it's their birthday, it tells you their work anniversary. So, I mean, use that. Even on Facebook, they have that. So that's step 3 is a systems and
Okay.
tools. Step 4, get
Mhm.
out and meet people. Get out and meet people. That's in person. That's online. Anywhere you meet people is a networking opportunity. It doesn't have to be a networking event. You could be on the sideline. Let's say, oh, I'm too busy. I got my kids' soccer. I got this activity. I got dance. I got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but when you're at those activities, you're meeting people.
You're meeting people. But here's where the definition of networking comes in, because if you think you're prospecting or selling, you're not going to do it. It's going to be awkward and weird. But when you understand that networking is just building relationships, you can share resources, create a win-win. The other parents there, they might be looking for a job, they might be looking for sales, they might be looking for getting word out for their nonprofit. So find out what they do and what's next for them, and just start a conversation, build a relationship. So get out, meet people in person, online. And in person doesn't mean networking events exclusively. It means anywhere people, your hiking club, your cycling club, your
The food
astronomy
bank.
club, your
You're
book
helping.
reading club,
Yeah, you're helping at the food bank, which I
at the
know
food
is a
bank,
big
at
thing
church,
in Ohio. In the
everywhere.
yeah.
Everywhere there's people becomes
Mhm.
a network. Thanksgiving dinner becomes a networking opportunity when you don't think of it as selling. Yeah, think of selling and prospecting, asking people for a job. That's cringy, right? No one wants to do that. But when you understand what networking is, family has needs too. Church people have needs too. Book club has needs too. It's just building relationships so we can get to the point to where we can say, here's my
Right.
cards. Do you need any of my poker cards here? Uh, help yourself, if these will help your handout. And then chances are they're going to reciprocate and say,
Okay.
tell me about what you need, and I'll see what I can do to help you. But people don't start that. So it's only somebody who's trained that can start the process, so other people can participate and all benefit from it. And that's what we're doing by creating better networking. So that's
Okay.
step
So
4.
4 is meet
In-person,
people.
yeah,
5.
in-person, online is meeting people. Step 5 is building relationships. Remember, we talked about strength of a relationship 1 through 10. And you know what the 10 is your refrigerator. They have refrigerator rights. They'll help you move. That's the 10. So now you have a scale, and then being able to say, okay, giving everyone a number and to say, how can I get them up 1 or 2 notches? How can I get them from a 5 to a 7, from a 7 to an 8? And that's all it is. So every time we talk to somebody, we have purpose and intention. We're not just like, hey, how's everything? But there's intention behind it, to be able to reconnect and to find out what they need and add value to them. So that's build relationships. Step 6 is building your brand and your personal network. Building your brand, that's like you having the nice car, and it doesn't have to be a new expensive car, but it does have to be well maintained. Okay, you don't need to have to drive $100,000 car to get respect. You can have an older car, but in great shape that you've taken care of, and that can still get you respect because it shows that you took care of it. And the same with your network. You don't need 20,000 people in your network to have credibility. You can have 200 people in your network. You can have a few dozen, but quality. So start building your network and your brand, because that precedes you. And that's the social proof for people to let you into larger circles and to reach the decision makers to where they want to meet you, because of the people you're associated with, because of the social proof that they see online through other people that know you. And that's what will let them, that's what will get you in the door to their company. You could take it from there. There's many of you that will feel like, if I just had a shot, right? If you any of you ever said that, the job seekers
Yeah.
out there, if I just had a shot, I'd be okay. I'm not getting the shot. And the same thing, people in business. They're like, if people just hear about my product, they would want it. But the problem is they don't get a chance to even share their product. So what we're doing is you're creating the community. You're becoming the center of influence, because you already are with the people around you. Everyone is a center of influence in their little circles. As you do this, your center of influence, your circles become bigger and bigger and more interconnected, where your circles are connected with other circles. And that's where you have all the resources you need. So it's not just about you getting a job, it's about being a connector. And in the process, you're going to get a job. In the process, you're going to help other people. And in the
Right.
process, you'll never be unemployed again, because you'll have plenty of people that'll be able to connect you when you need it. So that's step 6. And then step 7 is collaborations and partnerships. So that's where we end
Ah,
up. So you
yeah.
notice that the end result is not like, hey, I made a sale or I got the job and I can stop. It's collaborations and partnerships. That means it's ongoing. You're a connector. You're the conduit. You're the one that's making things happen, even when you're not present, because you're connecting other people that are making things happen. And so collaborations and partnerships is the end goal for us, because that's what's sustainable. That's what's sustainable. We can't sustain like tons of other, I mean, we just can't sustain like doing the job search over and over and over again and building cold contacts.
Yeah,
That's just,
I haven't. I have a little example, a personal story. Um, I've been also a grant writer in my career in the nonprofit sector, and I did some contract work for somebody who works in the federal grant realm. And there was a time when I was looking for a new role, and she went to bat for me and just told them, the people, about me, so that I got the job. I got an interview and got the job, right? Because I had a relationship with her over time. And as with people, you check in from time to time, you see what they're doing, you comment on what they're doing, they remember you. And it paid off for me in that particular, and that's not the only time. And I know in your with your business, helping people learn how to network, you also have made some significant collaborative connections. Yes.
yeah, plenty along the way. That's what makes it all work and get bigger results than we're capable of individually.
Yeah, you have a chapter in Zimbabwe now. Yes.
Yeah, our first international. So it's
How did
exciting.
that happen? I just have to know briefly, how did that happen?
Yep. So that was from a student in the Networking Breakthrough Academy that was introduced to me by another student who felt like they would benefit from learning how to network and growing their church out there and their businesses out there and the people that have needs out there. And yeah, the person was very dedicated and was attending their local time when our classes are 7 to 9 here. So they're attending class online from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. was their time that he was attending class at.
Oh, wow. That's dedication.
Yeah, so that's how it started, was building, again, it's just building that relationship and finding out that there's a need and solving a problem out there. And so we're excited to see us make an impact across the world. And that's the goal for the Connected Networking Group, is to expand to have 10,000 chapters by 2035. So that's 10 years from now, 10,000 chapters, which will represent about 10 million members around the world that believe like we do, that we're all connected. Diversity is our strength. We are better together. And if you look at all the things we teach about networking, we're equipping people to become the center of influence, to get more results, to be able to be the glue in their community, be the people gatherer in their community, which is lacking because it doesn't happen accidentally. It needs to be intentional. So that's what we're creating, is a whole community made of little communities, little small local communities that are part of a global mission of bringing people together. So we feel like we can actually change the world one connection at a time, one community at a time, because it's best for everyone. When we have the right mindset and have the tools,
Oh,
and
I
the
agree.
skills,
I 100% agree.
everyone's better off than when we're on our own.
If you want to connect with Chris, here is his website with all of his information. And you can also get the book through the website, as well as the link that I previously shared. Of course, he's on LinkedIn as well. So I'm saying connect with me on LinkedIn, but also connect with Chris. I mean, he'll accept your connector request, right?
Yeah, that's what and also if they go to chrisborja.com, I have the networking IQ assessment. So for anyone that's wondering,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
go there. It's free. It'll take about 10 minutes ballpark to complete the assessment. You'll get a breakdown of where you rank on each of those 7 skills. So you can shortcut your learning curve and go straight to those things because not everyone's weak at all of them. You might be strong at some and need help in the other ones. Go straight to the ones that you need help on so you can get better results. I'm also giving out a free copy of my book. So you can get this book. If you want the hard copy, go to Amazon and pick it up. But on the website, you can get a PDF copy of this book instantly. So you just put your email in there. It'll instantly send you a PDF copy of this book, because that's part of our mission, is to equip people to become better networkers, have stronger businesses, and create more connected communities all over the world. But it starts with each individual. So for those out there in the job seeking world, you're going to get your jobs. You're going to have more influence and power and authority and be able to help other people with some of the things that you learned, and we'll continue growing it, through your organizations and other people you run across. Networking is a team sport, and that's what we're doing, is we're helping people to play team and not play.
It is a team sport. That's a good way to put it. And I am looking forward to hearing from people who might catch us on the replay as well, what some of your experiences have been with networking. Because it is it is an art form. I mean, there are steps to it, but it's not like it's something you just have to do it, right? You got to do it.
And I look at it, yeah, I look at it like dancing, right? Not everyone is a natural. Some people are naturally skilled dancers. Some people are natural networkers, but not everyone is. But just because you're not a natural dancer, you doesn't mean you can't dance. You just have to learn the steps, and that's what we're doing, is teaching the steps so more people can enjoy the party and not feel left out because they know how to dance, right? So
Yep.
some people will always be better, but we're not comparing. It's just like, hey, I'm better than I was before, and I'm having a good time, and I would have been left out. So we're inviting more people to the dance and just being able to enjoy being part of that community.
All right. Thank you, Chris. This has been great. I realize we sort of meandered around a little bit, but I think we came up with some really good tips for to help people feel better and find it easier to connect with other people. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and same to all of you.
Yeah, we'll see you on LinkedIn.
Keep watching, because I'm going to be talking to other people about other topics.